Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Otakuology Podcast. I'm your host, Otaku Mike, as always. And with me is Jen. I said Ribbit Bitch Graves.
Oh,
Today,
Jesus.
we are talking about the very last episode of Season 1 of Creature Commandos.
Yeah, we are.
It is called A Very Funny Monster, is what it's called.
Yeah, it is.
Man, I have mixed emotions about this episode, I feel like, a little bit.
I have a lot of mixed emotions about this episode.
I didn't think it was bad. I'm
going to go ahead and give my rating.
Okay.
So, I'm going to say my rating was a 4.
Uh-huh.
Because, there was good stuff in this, but there's also some weird stuff. And I also feel like it was a little bittersweet with how it ended, but...
Yeah, I felt like, to be honest, a little anticlimactic.
This is true.
A tad bit.
This is true. There are a few things that were...
But I kind of feel like it worked a little bit.
Yeah.
In a sense.
I agree. And as we get into it farther, there'll be more things unrolled, I will say.
Which I do have questions, but when we get to it, we'll get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so this one started out kind of weird. We have where a lady's pregnant and she has a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And, she comes out and they show us like, hey, this baby's lungs are technically on the outside of her rib cage.
Which, isn't that a real thing?
Yeah, you can have different genetic defects where there's either them being on the outside of like the rib cage, or even like a baby being born outside the womb.
Yeah.
You can have things that are fused together. You can have a bunch of different stuff. Which this is where I have one question here in a second for you. But we have where the baby's born. We know that this is kind of weird. And we have a doctor that says, Nia.
I thought it was Nina.
That's right, Nina.
That's her father.
Yeah. So, obviously from how this baby looks and what we know Nina to look like are two different things.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
And he kind of pulls like a whole, we can rebuild her kind of situation to it.
Yeah, we can help her is what he wanted to do.
Yeah, we can do all this, which, gets us kind of into the title screen after that motion. My first question for you, though, do you think that the reason why she had the genetic defect was because her dad was a scientist? Like maybe he had some broken swimmers or something?
I don't know.
Or would you think that it might be something on her mother's side?
That I really, really don't know, because they look like two healthy people.
Yeah.
But two healthy people can, produce offspring with genetic defects, so I have no idea.
Yeah. Usually it's in the DNA code or whatever.
They never really say whose DNA she got it from.
That's true too. When we first saw this scene, I was kind of leaning towards it was the dad.
Yeah.
But then I really feel like that it may have been something from the mom, just because of how she acted. Like I've never seen a mom that was interested in a kid.
Yeah.
No matter what defect or anything they had.
Yeah. I was kind of curious as to if she had possibly post was it not post traumatic the postpartum maybe, and that's why she wasn't able to care about the baby or anything like that, because she kind of very much like withdraws automatically because of the defect. Like
Yeah.
she was like, we should have killed it, basically, killed the baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should just turned off the machines and like, because it seemed to me like, one, she didn't want her child to like suffer.
Right.
And, possibly have to live with this genetic defect. That was a pretty big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, people live healthy lives with like genetic defects and stuff. So, I mean, I can kind of see where like the father was coming from in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wanting to help, wanting to improve her, stuff like that, wanting her to have like a successful life.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I can kind of see both sides of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as a father, like, I don't know if I could handle that choice personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being that I've had some kind of genetic defect kind of sort of like that in my family, that somebody died from, like, I feel that way kind of sort of as well. But, I also think that it didn't make the situation any better. And it could be, like you said, kind of from the postpartum that the mother didn't have anything in it,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because she's kind of like, like, because he ends up like, how do you want to cover this? Do you want to cover this flashback? Then what happens?
We can let's cover it like in parts up to about halfway, and then kind of go back. So when everything kind of comes congruently back together.
Okay. Because she makes her a machine.
Essentially,
it's almost like an iron lung type of thing.
Get out of my head. I was thinking the same thing.
Okay. I mean, it looks pretty like archaic almost. Like he kind of just threw something together and it seemed to work. And she was like, I can't deal with this. What happens when the stuff starts digging into her skin? She outgrows it. He's like, oh, make another one. And she's like, this is not how we should be living our lives. She's like, I'm leaving, is what she says.
Yeah. See, and in this instance, what him saying that kind of made me think is like if you have a baby that doesn't, is born without a leg or something, and it's like in the same thing, like would you turn around and say, oh, well, we should have killed them off? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's so prevalent nowadays, and like going through the process of knowing like you do have to grow up and get a new leg or something in that sense, or a new arm, depending on what it is, or even a new eyeball sometimes. Like that was one of the things with that. I feel like I'm on the dad side for that, especially if he knows how to do that.
Yeah, because they said he was like one of like the most renowned scientists in the world.
Yeah.
I think it was. So, I mean,
and of course, he's like, oh, she's strong, which continuity wise, we'll circle back to that statement.
She's not really like strong.
She's like 30 pounds, and this thing is like 30 pounds. And as a child, she's already able to carry basically 60 pounds of weight.
Yeah.
My whole other thing, and that is when he had to upgrade to the next one that we see where they're trying to go to the park.
To like struggle.
Yeah, and it's heavy as shit.
Oh, that fucking broke my heart right there. Like,
well, I was just sitting there like, why would you take her to the park when she can't
and you can see
anything?
She's like clearly struggling to like walk.
Yeah, sweating
and catching her breath, like.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's like kind of oblivious, I feel like. He's like, oh, we'll make you something better, don't worry, everything will be fine. And we kind of get to the point where like he starts like genetically like altering her DNA.
Yeah.
And she like kind of has like a seizure thing and like starts morphing into the Nina Mazursky that we know.
Yeah.
Which is
the Fish Mazursky.
Fish Mazursky, where Abe Sapien without superpowers,
That's what I thought, yeah.
And like he like puts her in water.
Which I will say as a dad, that part was hard.
Yeah.
whenever he first injected her, and then out of nowhere, like she started spasming. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be the first episode that something's going to happen. I don't know what. And I was like, I'm going to have to tell Mike, like, I'm going to have to give this episode like a 2 because it made me sick to my stomach. But she got out of it pretty fast. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like when they made that part of this episode, they did it long enough to make you uncomfortable, but it was short enough to not make you sick.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as a parent, this episode kind of like really pulls at your heartstrings.
Oh yeah, I feel like the whole thing is almost set up to do that because we get this one Dr. Phosphorus, his family dying with his little girl and everything.
Weasel.
The kid thing with Weasel, like I guess to an extent you could say the bride because
I mean, the bride didn't really.
She was kind of a baby at one point,
Yeah, I guess. I don't really know if she was a baby.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to teach her how to do everything.
Yeah, they did.
What a pervert.
That was a bad joke.
What a pervert.
But yeah, she ends up going to school, like public school, and she's wearing
It wasn't public.
It was a private?
Yeah, it was a private school.
Okay, private. And she ends up wearing like the suit that we know that she wears. You know, and she's like can speak like 3 languages or something like that. And
she can speak 4 languages. She can I can't remember what else he said. Her dad said something else. Like, she knows a lot of different stuff, but he wanted her socially to get to know more people.
Yeah. Which she ends up joining what is it called? Field hockey team.
Yeah, and they're all just like little assholes to her.
They're fucking assholes. I mean, everybody in this, when she's like a kid, is like an asshole to her.
Yeah, but going back to the other thing, I feel like what you said earlier about her dad kind of being oblivious, I think he is.
Yeah.
And I think he's oblivious all the way up until the incident that happens where she gets picked up.
Yeah.
But my whole other thing that I was going to say is it's really weird how she doesn't have more like super strength or anything, because you would think after lugging all that shit around, she would have more muscle mass.
Or maybe the fact that, she was able to swim and breathe underwater.
Yeah, that she would be stronger.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's one of the weirdest things about her as a character is that it just seems like she's really weak.
Yeah. I mean, probably the only thing she really has, she can swim underwater and breathe.
That's true.
Other than that, she's kind of a normal person.
Yeah.
But she ends up leaving.
Yeah.
She leaves and goes into the sewers and basically becomes like a sewer monster.
No, she goes into the sewers to follow it out to where it leaks out into like a bay or something.
Yeah, but I thought she was still kind of hiding around in the sewers.
I don't think so, because people kept saying they were seeing her around the park or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past that maybe she did use it, but this is also the part where she's stripping down or whatever. I was like, I'm going to expect Otaku Mike to say some kind of fish monster girl joke at some point. And ooh, boy. And I was like, I could see your ass doing that.
I mean, she's a looker, just saying.
I could get a little fishy with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there when she started doing that. I was like, I could see Mike talking about, oh man, look at this fish person. She's so cute.
I mean,
I'd get me some of that.
She's still technically human, just saying.
That is true. She's just got some fish DNA.
She has a little fish DNA.
I could see you pulling the joke excuse me, ma'am, I may be human, but would you like some fish stick? That did used to be one of your go-to jokes a lot. So
No, it was like, hey, do you like fish sticks?
exactly.
Do you like fish
Close
sticks?
enough.
Do you like
Close
fish
enough.
sticks in your mouth?
Yeah.
What are you, a gay fish?
Exactly.
That was a South Park joke, though. That wasn't my joke.
Hey, but you said it a lot, so that's
funny.
that's one of my core memories. Like that was one of your like howdy doody jokes. Like, hey, let me tell you a joke. You like fish sticks? I at least remember you doing it like 20 or 30 times. So like every time we'd have somebody that was a friend on the podcast, or in like when we did YouTube or anything, you'd be like, hey, you want to hear a joke? So, but yeah, I mean, she gets like pictures taken and other things like that.
Yeah, because she was like eating a fish, right?
Yeah, of her being a local monster. So there was a bird person that was trying to take pictures of a bird
At night.
Yeah, and she happened to be eating a fish at that time.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my God, is it real? Is it fake? What is it? And they end up finding her eventually.
Which kind of throws me off a little bit too on the fact of like they were like, oh, we're gonna send dive teams in and we're gonna do all this. Like you would assume that it wouldn't be as big of a thing.
And
as
the thing
it
is,
turned
like,
into.
She kind of was like out in the open when she was with her dad and stuff, going to school. So people had to know about her.
Right. Yeah.
Unless she went to like a completely different town or something.
I have no idea.
So I think they said they were in Star City when she was found.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, and then her dad saw the picture. He came to wherever they were to find her and all that other jazz. And then, of course, this whole part right here where I feel like she got framed. Do you think that too or no?
Yeah, she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we already knew that they were going to throw her kind of in like as a science experiment into this thing, but I think whenever the police officer shot her dad, that they put it on her as you killed this person when it wasn't her.
Which is weird because she had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and
yet she's locked up in Belle Reve.
Yeah,
for something she didn't do.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was
DC justice system at work, folks. Just saying.
No shit.
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
In Star City, is that the Flash?
No, he's Central City.
Is it Green Arrow then?
Yeah, I think it's Green Arrow. Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't Green Arrow get involved?
Yeah, why? Maybe Green Arrow's not in this new DC universe. Just saying. Who knows?
That's bullshit. Yeah. So we saw that.
So Star City's an actual place.
Well, I know that there's a Star City, but I mean, like, I thought the Star City in this was made up.
It is, but I was just saying I googled Star City.
Oh yeah,
and it's a real place.
It's got a lot of stars at it.
Do you know where it's located?
Massachusetts?
Arkansas.
Oh, cool. We also have a forest city, but
yeah. So yeah, it is the fictional city of Oliver Queen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded familiar when you said that. That's why I was like, I've seen that in one of the shows. Like,
it was in Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like she's definitely like was set up, and man, this whole scene was fucking heartbreaking. Like her dad being like, "How like you weren't like the problem, you weren't a burden," because she kind of feel like she was,
Yeah. Well, and then all this stuff to be happening, and she's basically sitting there suffocating, and all this other stuff. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, yeah. Which, and they just throw her in the back of the truck in a tank of water. She's just like bawling her eyes out and stuff.
Yeah.
It was so sad. So sad. I mean, because I feel like she was kind of the most human out of all of them, sort of.
Yeah. Well, and I said that.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah,
weird because the bride said that at one point that she was the most human, and then she said she was the most monster out of all of them. And
yeah,
it was kind of like, what?
yeah. So we jump from that to present day.
We're gonna have
Uh,
to. We got to jump to Frankenstein in the car.
oh, okay. We can jump to Frankenstein in the car.
This is probably the best time I've ever seen Frankenstein because usually he sounds like a little bitch. He's definitely a little bitch boy.
I
But
have to say, what they did to Frankenstein,
yeah,
he was just like a fucking afterthought in this episode.
thank God.
I thought he was
I
gonna have like a bigger role, and they just take him out so
yeah.
fast.
Well, he was sitting there in the car and he was talking about it and getting this taxi driver to drive him to the thing. And somehow the taxi driver already knew something was up. And of course, like he's paying all this stuff, which my favorite scene was where he was talking. It's still in the taxi, but it's the whole line where he was giving us the thing of, I'm going to go help my friend save his woman, but he's not here, but we're going to go save my bride. And of course, like, da da da. And he goes, and then we're going to basically like get it on. Oh, no. Or get it on like a porno. And then he's like, no, not like a hardcore porno.
It's gonna be
like
romantic.
like a girly porno. And
like
what?
One's children can watch.
Yeah.
I was like,
so, I mean, you got like a bunch of this shit, and you're like, what? And then you finally get where you see, because they weren't showing his face, to where they show the cabbie, and he's sitting there just like sweating, eyes bulging, and everything else. So it's like, damn right, you better not say a fucking word, bro. You're going to live. You're going to live. You're going to be the first one of all these people we've seen with him, basically, with Frankenstein, that's going to live.
Yeah.
And of course he did, which is, crazy.
And then, so the creature commandos end up breaking into the castle.
Yes.
They go into this tower. They fuck the guy up in there who's like waiting, and they end up seeing something really, really interesting.
Hey, let's not forget Dr. Phosphorus coming in clutch for standing there burning through the wall for 30 minutes or however long it took him.
They after they get like some like surveillance and stuff, the Elena or Alana, is it Elena?
Ilana, I think.
Ilana, she ends up going swimming, and they end up burning through the wall, or they end up in like this like forest area where there's like a lake in the castle.
Yeah.
And they're kind of hiding in the forest. They're seeing her swimming, and they're like, hey, look, like, you, which they end up taking Frankenstein out. We forgot to say that. Like, he fucking, like, eats it.
Yeah, he's climbing up the wall. He climbs in right as the bride basically shoots him and kicks his ass back out the window.
Yeah. Which, he's just, like, useless in this episode.
Then they get out, and she basically sits there and murks his ass.
Yeah. And then that's when they end up going through the wall, which Dr. Phosphorus coming in clutch, And they're like, okay, who's going to do this? What are we going to do? And they're like, Nina, you got this. And Weasel is trying to trying to go get Ilana, and because she looks like the little girl he tried to save.
Yeah, she played fetch with him.
Yeah, she played fetch with them. And they're like, okay, you got this, Nina. You're going to get in the water and basically, like, stab her. Like, bring her underwater.
Stab her right in the neck.
Stab her and, bring her under the water and stab her. And this is a really, really cool scene. Like, they're kind of talking her up. You got this. You're one of us. And she's like, I never killed anybody. And they're like, no, you got this. You go. And so she does. And we get this really cool scene where she's swimming through the water. And she's kind of like mimicking almost like, or timing just perfectly where Ilana is.
Yes.
Under the water. And like the music's playing. And Weasel flips out. And he tries to go save the princess. Which, if you don't remember, Weasel can't swim.
Right.
So he starts to drown, and then Phosphorus runs after him, grabs him, and he ends up getting bit by Weasel, which gives him
Yeah.
blowing their cover away. You know?
Yeah. It makes Weasel look like he's wearing lipstick the rest of the episode.
Yeah, because he gets like burnt. His mouth gets burnt. But
Yeah.
did you see like the little details where he like bit Phosphorus?
Yeah.
Like I was like, do you think that grows back?
I don't know. He kind of did this weird thing where he like rubbed his arm. So I
He
was
like
wondering if
tried to
he could.
cauterize the wound.
Yeah, I was wondering if he could kind of like heal himself that way. Because you would think like how Phosphorus is like even if somebody bit him, it would just go back away.
Yeah, but it seems to possibly heal over time.
Yeah, yeah.
And we get the climactic scene where Alana, she sees Nina. They fight under the water. There was a struggle, and she ends up getting the knife, and she stabs Nina to death.
Yeah, she did.
And then
mercilessly.
We get this phone call from Amanda Waller, and she's like, "Look, we were wrong. Like we were just wrong." And like everybody is kind of in shock about like what just fucking happened. Nobody's going to like save Nina.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could have possibly saved her.
I have no clue. But I have 3 questions in that.
Uh-huh.
Well, I got 2 answers and a question.
Uh-huh.
So the first thing is they looked at the surveillance ones and they looked at the old stuff and saw this person that was talking to Ileana, which I was kind of wondering if it was going to be Gorilla Grodd. Obviously, that's not who it was.
It was a deep fake.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, well, like I still didn't take my money off of the person that was put in the place of the doctor to not be involved with her somehow. Yeah. Even though they were kind of like, oh, well, it can't be that. And whatnot. And then when she did the stabbing, that was really
her face changed, like
she fucking enjoyed it.
Yeah, like she enjoyed it, yeah.
And like that was also where I was like, oh yeah, this bitch did it.
Yeah, she did it. Yeah. And she threw everybody off.
But my question is, they got Rick Flag.
Uh-huh.
And they knew about Frankenstein and everything.
Uh-huh.
And supposedly people went to the scene to get them, right?
Uh-huh.
And my question is, why the fuck didn't anybody bring up that Clayface's, like, I guess kind of sort of corpse was laying on the rug? It was something that I feel like just was left out.
They just didn't do anything with him.
Because we should have already known this information. Like,
here's the thing. Like, what if Clayface isn't dead?
Why is he still laying on the carpet?
Maybe he hasn't revived himself yet. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm sure that it will be something, or it's like a husk kind of sort of situation. Because there was that big wad of, it looked like him hanging off the one of the walls.
Yeah.
Which, maybe kind of like what you're saying is he does have like a little regeneration he's got to do. So maybe he goes into like a homeostasis kind of sort of until he's like enough back. But like for Amanda Waller and what's his face?
Rick.
Not Rick, the other one. John.
Yeah.
I was trying to say what his name was.
Economo.
Yeah. Economo. There we go.
Yeah.
Going in there and being like, oh man, this is Clayface and all. And I'm like, how the fuck wasn't that in any of your reports? Like, didn't they go there to get Rick Flag?
Here's the thing. Like, I think it was after the Clayface fight.
Yeah.
Frankenstein brought Rick to the hospital.
Okay.
I think it was. So, like, Argus was never at the house. So they didn't know about Clayface.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make sense then. I was just like, how do these people not already know about this guy, this Clayface being there already?
Yeah, I think it was like, was it? I think it was like when when the professor was talking to Waller. I think that was the actual professor. But in between that and I think she died after that. Is what I was
Um,
gathering.
I think she died after that because they had the report that was done, and I think kind of like how the bride tells us at the end that what's his face when they first came back from the trip, he
Mm-hmm.
was watching them, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
because of who Rick Flag was, he didn't kill Cersei off like Ileana thought he was going to do.
yeah.
So
And then so we get the whole thing like Weasel kind of becomes a hero, and
Weasel's hero.
they're the bride and Phosphorus are sitting there and just kind of talking. Phosphorus is really fucking like he can't believe like what fucking happened.
Yeah,
Like he's like this is like bullshit basically. And the bride gets up and she's like I gotta like go walk around or whatever, and she ends up running into Ileana, and she goes into her office and she starts to talk. She's like, "Oh, like it's like thanks for saving me. Like it's such a silly monster. You're such a silly monster. I would never do something like that. Like I'm not a bad person." And then he's trying to like play it off and stuff, and then like the bride puts two and two together.
yeah,
They're like, "We saw Clayface with you in the pictures. We know what's going on." And she's like, "I'm not going to kill you because you're a bad, like you want to take over the world basically and destroy it.
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
kill you because you killed my only friend I've ever had." And
yeah,
he just fucking like pops her in the head, leaves, and she's like, "Okay, we're leaving," and they like walk off,
yeah, yeah.
which is a very like fucking touching scene. It's a heartbreaking scene. I feel like,
Oh yeah, I
and
mean, especially because you know what happened.
yeah. And this is the point where I say it was a little bit anticlimactic because it's a superhero thing. We expect this big, like bombastic action scene at the end, and this was such a subtle scene. She
Yeah,
pops her in the head and just leaves,
yeah,
and then we get the scene where she's like kind of crying, and they're walking away in the sunset, and like Phosphorus just like pats her on the back, and and they're off, and they're gone.
yeah,
And then we get this at the end where Economo is with the bride. He's like, you did a good job. Waller's going to make some accommodations for you. And so basically, the creature commandos get their own like suite, basically, for all the cells. They get like ping pong tables, I think a couple of refrigerators, some arcade games, I think,
yeah,
and they get some new members. One
yeah,
being
and some old
and
members.
some old members. One being GI Robot, or as I like to call him, the Iron Giant, because he looked like the Iron Giant.
Oh no shit.
Which I like the little fact that he was drinking motor oil out of a can.
Yeah,
That was funny. Then we get uh, Phosphorus and Weasel. Then we get three new members. I forget what their names are off the top of my head. So we
two
get
two of them that we've seen,
two of them we've
but
seen. One of them we have seen in live action. So we
yeah,
get Nosferetta, which is she's like a vampire. Uh, Kahalis, I don't know if I pronounced that right. He was the mummy guy in the back, and then we get King Shark.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, what a surprise! We got King Shark.
right.
Yeah, I thought he would still be with like Task Force X.
Hey, buddy,
You know,
there's no way of knowing.
King Shark season 2. Just saying, we're gonna get it.
Yeah,
Like I was like, I'm here. King Shark is here. I'm here. Like this
yeah,
team just got 100% better. They just, got their water person back, kind of, sort of.
That's true.
Ish, kind of.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the only good thing really for all that I feel like is that they are under the bride,
Yeah,
so at least she kind of knows how to take care of everybody.
yeah,
But I also feel like we're gonna get some problems on how the rest of the group works.
yeah. We'll have to
Um,
see, but I mean, we get a stinger at the end. Did you watch the stinger?
yeah, the very ending part.
Where we see Frankenstein did not die, and he is eating soup at an old gypsy's house. He was like, "This soup is shit. I hate it."
Right. Well, did you hear what kind of soup it was?
What was it?
Pigeon pigeon poop
Oh,
soup.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, so when he was like, "Oh, this is shit," I was like, "Oh, that's because it's what it is."
I must have missed that.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Oh, great!" And then I was kind of like scanning the scene for it. Does this old lady have a dog?
And that's how this season ends. So, what did you think as a whole?
Uh, I mean, it was good. I liked it and everything, but there was some things I like I really like that obviously Frankenstein wasn't in this because I feel like every time he's in one of it a lot, he ruins it.
Yeah,
He just ruins the episode. Um, it was very bittersweet, I feel like, to get Nina's backstory and then for her to die.
yeah. I wasn't expecting her to die.
I wasn't either, and I mean, maybe it's not exactly what happened because I'd say that we did, but what if we didn't? Because, like you said, why couldn't one of them have pulled her out or saved her from
Yeah,
bleeding internally? And I mean, we don't really know if she is built more like Abe Sapien or anything either. Like in Hellboy, where Abe had the little thing that got stuck inside of him, and it was like he had those eggs, and they just had to take him out, and he got better over time.
yeah.
I mean, we don't know anything else like that in her story as far as like we've talked about. She's probably dead.
You know what we don't know? What Alana's plan was. Like, what was her plan? Like her big plan to take over everything. We
Well,
never,
Pinky.
we
Well,
never,
Pinky.
we never find that out.
Well, Pinky. She's going to take over the world.
I know, but we never found out how.
Uh, I think we found it out in the flashback,
In the
kind of, sort of.
flashback,
Yeah. Well, I guess it wasn't really a flashback. It was the vision
flash
that Cersei
a
had.
premonition.
Yeah.
No, I
So
mean
I'm sure it was her making some kind of thing with Gorilla Grodd on, hey, let's do this and then we'll take over the world.
I liked this episode. I feel like everything came together very nicely.
Yeah.
It very much subverted my expectations of what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Which that's a good thing. I feel like when a TV show can do that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this. Even though I said it's a little anticlimactic, I liked the ending.
Yeah.
And I have to give this a 5. Like, I really enjoyed it. I know
Yeah.
I'm probably going to try and contradict myself in the fact that, I'm giving it a 5 and I said it was a little anticlimactic. But, I
That's
mean,
true.
it is what it is.
Contradict a motherfucker.
And, I'm really looking forward to Peacemaker because I feel like this is going to roll right into Peacemaker. And maybe we'll see some of them in Peacemaker, maybe?
Yeah. Or maybe they'll hold off until we get another creature commando.
Because in Peacemaker, Rick becomes the leader of Argus.
Supposedly.
That's what happens.
Oh.
And they all get kicked out, like the Peacemakers group. So Commander
Oh.
Waller, I'm guessing, is not in charge of Argus anymore. It's Rick.
Who knows?
Yeah. But no, I am so down for a season 2. I thought this was almost nearly perfect season,
Yeah.
and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, it made me fall in love with these characters that I really had no idea who they were.
And you were like, oh, your backstories are so fucked up.
I know they're all so fucked up. But I mean, hey, I guess that's how, like, you get into characters with fucked up backstories.
That is true.
Yeah, yeah.
That is true. I got into a game that was like that. So
Yeah, yeah. This was fun to cover. I can't wait to cover more in this world when we get to it.
yeah.
I'm excited for this new like DC EU that they have going on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, especially on uh the TV side, maybe not the movies. But
I don't
on
know.
the
I'm excited. I'm excited for Superman.
but on the TV show movies, I mean they or on the TV shows, I mean they are covering like a lot of this extra stuff that I feel like it's honestly just as good as like the early MCU stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's kind of like DC's getting its seat at the table finally with having like more good movies and everything else from like not I feel like not being really able to recover after like the Batman trilogy.
Really, because people are saying that about Marvel after Endgame.
That's true too.
So, yeah, no, like, I'm excited. I want Superman to succeed and be a really good movie. I mean, it has crypto in it. It's got to be a good movie.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. That comes out in July. But yeah, no, yeah, solid series, and definitely worth your time watching. I feel like.
Yeah, and it's only 7 episodes.
Yeah, and it's super. Like, it was a
That's
super quick watch.
that's one of the other things is uh usually when we cover something that's like 8 episodes, like I feel like we've watched 8 episodes.
Yeah,
And so that's kind of my thing. Like if it's something that we watch 10 episodes and it's kind of like, well, was I in it enough that I didn't feel like I watched that many episodes? Then that's kind of my staple of like how it was good.
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Um,
It didn't feel like a chore to watch.
yeah, and this one just seemed like we didn't get enough, you know.
Yeah,
And I don't know if it was maybe because of that shy like 8th episode or what, but I feel like this could have almost been spread out a little more and we could have had 10 or 12 episodes.
yeah, maybe. But I mean, they probably wanted to consolidate it to, like,
Yeah, they
re-
probably wanted to keep it like a thing per monster
so like
character.
each episode is what, like 25 minutes each.
Yeah.
So, it's a decent amount.
Well, and they probably only wanted to cover it per every character that was in.
Yeah, which we never got Rick Flag's backstory.
His was just the introduction.
We
It
never
was
got
it was
his.
the verbal backstory.
Yeah.
Hey, so we got to call you in for blah 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 blah, but your son's dead.
Oh my God, your son's dead. Whoops.
We need you to take the lead, okay?
But yeah, no.
Okay.
I would love to hear your feedback on what you thought about this episode. People who are listening. And I'm excited to see what we cover next. We haven't really decided what we're going to cover, so we'll have to see.
But we do know here in the close to near future that we are doing another live, so stay tuned for that.
That's true.
Cause,
That's true.
Because those are always fun. So
Yeah. You never know what we're going to talk about.
That's true. It's kind of shot from the hip.
Yeah.
But let us know also what you may like us to talk about and whatnot for future shows. And we hope that you guys all had a good time listening. And Mike's going to tell you where you can find us.
You can find us on Instagram, our YouTube page at Otakuology, Blue Sky, Twitter or X, Threads at Otakuology. Did I say Instagram? Otakuology.
We're all podcast
we're on all
platforms.
podcast platforms. Rate and review the podcast. It helps people find the podcast. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next
safe,
Tuesday.
and see you next Tuesday.